We are almost to the end of 2023, so we're going to walk you through your New Year's forecast, plus extend it through the first 10 days, which will include your first likely snowstorm of 2024. So let's take a look at the satellite picture this morning for your December 30th. All eyes will trend out west because we've seen some significant waves across the west coast, and we could be getting some of those sneaker waves still. Some of those could be up to 40 feet right along the west coast. But for the middle of the country, we've got pretty clear skies and a lot of sunny weather. You can actually see that on the surface map. Only instability is really out west. That will be our next storm system as this traverses across the country. But they are definitely getting some much needed rain into central and southern California this morning. But we're coming off a very warm December, folks. I mean, it's literally been the second warmest December on record since they've been keeping track of this. So across the board for a good part of the United States, they've seen overall very warm December-like conditions. And looking at your precipitation, we've seen some aspects of the El Nino really starting to take shape, where we're getting this subtropical jet stream starting to become a lot more active as these systems will traverse across the southern flank, come across the southwest through Texas into the southeast and up the eastern seaboard. This is where all the heavy rain has been as of late across the eastern seaboard. But looking at the middle of the country, we've also had some above average rains as well. And this is the favorite area that could set up our first snowstorm of the year. So if you are new to the channel and like detailed weather breakdowns, hit the subscribe button and you're in. You get all my daily content on this channel, and I would love to reach 220,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and you can help me get there by subscribing to the channel and following all my content going through the year of 2024. So let's take a look for your New Year's Eve time frame, because we are going to be experiencing a pretty good strong cold front coming in from that middle part of the country, dropping southbound right into your New Year's Eve night. So these are your wind chills. This is midnight. A lot of people do have plans on that evening. So I wanted to give you on high alert what the temperatures could be when the ball drops across the US. These are your favored wind chills, widespread 20s across the middle of the country. You can see where that cold front sneaks down all the way further south into Texas, traversing across Arkansas through Kentucky, up here to West Virginia, and up here into the mid-Atlantic as that cold front continues to be dropping southbound. So definitely be on grab your jacket if you got plans to head out for your New Year's Eve time frame. But this is going to be your setup heading into next week. We're going to be seeing that El Nino type setup start to become a little bit more active. We're going to be watching these storm systems coming off the Aleutian Islands, dropping in off the west coast, bringing some rain opportunities for California, traversing across the desert southwest. This will traverse across Texas through the southeast, and again be coming up the eastern seaboard. If you look at the precipitation that will likely fall between now and say Thursday time frame, we can see that storm track really highlighted across from west to east, going through, taking a more of that predominant El Nino type track with this more active subtropical jet stream. So they're going to be getting some beneficial rains, mainly highlighted across the west coast. They've seen a lot of rains further north, but they definitely still need more further south into California, and eventually into southern California they are going to get some. That will be traversing across the desert southwest and eventually make it into Texas heading into that Tuesday time frame, and that will be swinging off with some additional rains, multi-inch rains the further south you live near the coast, and that will be coming up again up the eastern seaboard. But for the middle of the country, it's still going to be predominantly on the drier side. But beyond that, we still, again, we have that El Nino take shape, right? We're heading into January. January is typically one of our coldest months of the year. So predominantly just your overall average temperatures are predominantly on the much colder side because it's January. But so whenever you see these blue shaded areas, and the darker blue means a higher probability of below average conditions. So overall, with the more El Nino storm track, if you live across the West Coast, through the desert Southwest, through Texas, into the Southeast, you're going to be predominantly on the below average side. But even in the middle of the country, you see the white here, which is more average-like conditions. You can still see snow, folks. I mean, it doesn't take that much because you're still overall cold because it is the month of January. And even further north, where you do see some ridging and some above-average temperatures, it doesn't mean it's hot. It just means it's less warm. But you can still see snow even further north when you get above average for, this time of year. But heading into Friday, we're going to be seeing another storm system, right? So this is another storm system that will be traversing across the West Coast, are going to be highlighted over the desert Southwest, going to be impacting Texas again with likely a chillier rain, especially across the heart of the Lone Star State. And that again will be traversing across the Southeast and up the eastern seaboard with more rain. But you can see the ridge, right? This ridging across the middle of the country that was been so prevalent in the month of December, it starts to lose its grip, right? We start to see it kind of retrograding further and further north as more troughing will start to encompass this, and that will be the trend, especially as we definitely get deeper into January. But there's the overall temperatures as we head into your Friday night going into Saturday morning with that storm system coming across. Remember, middle of the country, again, this isn't like it's warm. I mean, we're still got widespread 20s across the middle of the country for overnight low conditions. But further south, you see the widespread 30s dropping all the way into Arkansas as that system will be coming across. So this will likely be a chilly rain across this region. But further north, I think that's when our beginning stages of our snow track will start to develop. Especially we'll be watching that storm system coming across. So you've got the colder side, right? You got the colder side to the north, the warmer side, which isn't technically warm, to the south. So this is going to be a chilly rain for a good part of Texas. Likelihood starting with snow up here to the northwest side of this low pressure. This will be around into that 5th and that 6th time frame of January. So we're likely going to be seeing another storm system come across, heading into New Mexico, highlighted over the Texas Panhandle into the western portions of the Panhandle of Oklahoma. This will bring in some more snow across that region, and we'll be trending all eyes out west because that's going to be where our next predominant colder source will be, as this storm system will still be working its magic, but leaving that colder rain further south, that kind of the chillier rain across East Texas into Southeast Texas. There are definitely some ensemble members. Some of this could be mixing over into at least possibilities of some snow across the Tennessee Valley, through Kentucky, across this corridor into Missouri, into portions of southern Illinois, and as well as Indiana. But then all eyes will be trending to the northwest because that's where the next cold source will be trending, coming in from the Pacific Northwest into our western regions, as much of the warmer anomalies will be trending towards that eastern flank. And eventually this west coast, colder air will eventually intrude into the eastern half warmer air. But in the middle, that will be our likely snowstorm going into that 6th and 10th time frame. A lot of ensemble members have a lot of congruency even right now. We'll be watching that renewed colder threat coming in from the northwest. That'll be tapping into some of that more active subtropical jet stream further south. That'll wring out the precipitation to the northwest side of there, wringing out the snow showers across the Four Corners regions, through Wyoming into portions of Nebraska, up here into Minnesota, right? They were above average. You don't need it to be that cold up there to snow in the coldest month of the year. And then there's the low pressure center, while east and southeast, especially the East Coast, will definitely still be on the warmer side, because as that instability taps into that atmosphere, the colder air will be coming from the northwest, right? So you got that favored storm track right around that 8th and 9th time frame, from the Texas Panhandle through portions of Oklahoma, through Kansas, up here to Missouri, through Iowa, getting into Illinois, through Wisconsin, and up here towards Michigan. And then, of course, further south into the southeast will be more of a chillier rain. And then once you head up, eventually head up to the East Coast, it'll be all rain, especially along the I-95 corridor. And then the snow will be still trending on the backside. Will eventually likely going to be getting into Illinois, through maybe the interior portions of the mid-Atlantic by then, and up here into New England. And if we break down the latest update from the Climate Prediction Center, we kind of highlight that, right? So this is kind of your longer range, that second flank that's going to come through, bringing some heavier rains across Texas. Once it hits this area around that 6th and 10th time frame, we got those above average precipitation traversing across the southeast into Florida, and they'll be likely coming up the eastern seaboard, but favoring all rain, because you're still going to be on the warmer side. It's not until the interior regions where you're going to be tapping into that colder air will set up the snow across this region. So you're likely going to be getting some heavier snows across the Appalachians, through portions, the interior portions of the mid-Atlantic, and heading into portions of New York. But again, along the coastal regions, you're going to be on the rainier, warmer side. But it's the interior regions where it's favoring snows across this region. It'll all be coming in out west, so we're getting that we're getting some candy cane type snow up here into the Sierras. And the Intermountain West will see lots of snow tapping into that more cold, that colder air, right? But then the most predominant area that we'll likely see, so some of the starting off 2024 with some of the heavier snows, is the more favored storm track will be traversing across the Texas Panhandle, through Oklahoma, through Missouri, into Illinois, into Indiana, through Ohio, and portions of Pennsylvania to the northwest of there. So which would include Kansas, through Nebraska, into Minnesota, Iowa, into, of course, Wisconsin, as well as into Michigan. That will likely be into that 6th and 10th time frame, heading into to begin the new year. And breaking down by the time we head into that 10th, right? So we got that transition to start. We got that southern flank below average. And then we'll start to look as that second system comes through. Then we'll have a colder intrusion coming in from the northwest, eventually encompassing all of the west, and eventually encompassing most of the central US, and then trying to bleed over into the east. This is around that 10th time frame. So by then you're still in the warm sector across the east, but eventually beyond that, this colder air will likely intrude even the east, as more colder air definitely starts taking over by the middle of January. So guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch the next update while I protect you before and after storm.